How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the 1IQ Sports Talk YouTube channel. Brendan and Sterling coming at you for week number 9 game pick where the New York Jets are taking on the Houston Texans.
Yeah, it's it was set to be a good game when the season started, but the Jets are kind of in free fall right now. And so I don't know, man. This is going to be an interesting one. We've talked weeks back about the Jets having get right games. They were supposed to have one in week 8 against the Patriots and they still managed to lose. But speaking of get right games, I feel like this might be that sort of game for the Texans. Not that there's been much wrong with them, but they haven't been the same sort of Texans as they were last year. And they're starting to enter some really dangerous injury territory. No Nico Collins. Stephon Diggs was announced out for the season as of today with an ACL injury. It's not looking good for that wide receiver room. So this could be a very good game for them to really try to figure out who is going to be the next man up. Is it going to be Tank Dell? Is it going to be somebody else?
Is
I
it going
know
to be
they've got a
someone
few
that they
other guys.
trade
I think
for?
John Mechie, so
Yep.
they've got some options there. It's just who's going to step up and be that big target for CJ Stroud for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, this is a team that if they weren't playing on Thursday night this week, I think you would get to see a pretty significant trade for a wide receiver piece. I still think you could see the Texans again. We record this on a Tuesday night, so we all very well know that the Texans could make a trade tomorrow morning. And granted, that player's not going to come in and play, but it's still one thing where you can still get them before next Tuesday's trade deadline day, which is, funny enough, only a week away. So that's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. But this is a team, again, no Stephon Diggs for the rest of the year. Nico Collins, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. Are you really going to put this much faith in a couple of really young wide receivers in John Mechie, who has not really played a ton, former second round pick, and Tank Dell, who played half the year last year and then was out due to injury, and then has had some up games and had some down games. And for your young quarterback, who everyone expected to take just this next elite step this year, with CJ Stroud, I don't think we've seen him take that next step from going to be a great quarterback to that elite quarterback. I've talked about it so many times with Trevor Lawrence going, I want to see you go from being a good quarterback to a great quarterback. This is right now with CJ Stroud. Can you go from being that great to being that elite guy? And it's not like his numbers have been bad this year. 11 touchdowns, 4 passing or 4 interceptions, almost 2,000 yards. So it's not like he's been bad. It's just, again, going back to what you're saying, at the beginning of the year, there was just so much expectations, and they just haven't had that certain feel that they did last year.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're right. They really should be big buyers at the deadline here. I know they've already shipped out some picks to get Stephon Diggs in that first trade, so that's kind of rough. But there are some cheap veteran options around the league right now. Like
Without a
I'm
doubt.
looking at maybe Deontay Johnson
He
could be a
already
good
he already got
option for
traded
them.
today.
What was that?
Deontay Johnson got traded.
Oh, did he? I
Yeah,
didn't
he
get
got he
any
got
updates on
traded
it.
to the Ravens, funny enough.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't get any
Yeah.
trade updates today, so I don't have no idea what's happened and what hasn't.
Yeah, all good. There was two trades today. Cam Robinson, I
Yeah.
forgetting he went to the Vikings, and then Deontay Johnson went to the Ravens. So
Yeah.
those were the
No.
two trades today. But again, we still talking about this. There are options. Again, we talk
Yes.
about Mike Williams on this Jets team. It could be a situation of just, hey, we're walking into the game in MetLife, and we just walk over to the two general managers meet up in the field and just say, hey, we'll give you a 6th round pick for Mike Williams. And the other GM of the Jets goes, yes, please.
Yep.
And then once the game's done, the trade gets announced, and boom, away we go. Or we could just see a funny moment of Mike Williams just running across the sideline halfway through the game, Antonio Brown style, maybe not actually leaving the stadium, but that
Yep.
similar fashion. There's tons of guys for the Texans to go out there and get. But man, oh man, this Jets team, we talked about them last week, sitting down and saying, This is their get right game. And we never talk about a team with multiple get right games in the early stage, because once you get past week number 8, I don't think you get a get right game anymore. It's just, this is what your team is. And can you win? And can you overcome some of the things? You don't have any more get right games. And for the Jets, it was both games against the Patriots this year, and they looked good in one of them, the first one, and then they looked really bad in the second one.
Yeah, they're just falling apart, the Jets. They thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be their savior, but you put his stats side by side with what Zach Wilson did for them the last few years, and Zach
Comparable.
Wilson's better.
Yep.
He's had a better stat line. It just, I know stats don't always tell the story because it depends on how they look on the field too, how they command that offense. But honestly, it feels like Aaron Rodgers is out there trying to command an offense that's a bunch of like high school kids that just refuse to listen to the teacher, is what it feels like over there. It's absolutely terrible to see. It makes me happy. I love seeing Aaron Rodgers fail. It brings me joy. So I like that. But beyond there, I feel bad for some of the guys because, some of those wide receivers, some of the other talent on that team, they're being overlooked and it's being overshadowed by Aaron Rodgers. And they're going to end up going somewhere else and hopefully being successful. I hope they can get out of that Jets umbrella because we've been saying it for years. The Browns, the Jets, these are the organizations that careers go to die.
Yeah, with the Jets right now, it's one of those things where you just continuously look back at it and go, man, like how, like it's unexplainable the level of stupidity this team has been through this year. Again, I thought firing Robert Sala when they did was a massive, massive mistake.
Hmm.
If, like, let's say you go into this week and you lose to the Texans and you lose badly and the record has continued to stay what it has been, you fire Robert Sala after that. You go, okay, we have the mini bye week. We can fire him now, and like that would make a lot more sense.
Yep.
That would make a ton more sense. But they decided to do it after week 5. And there's only been one interim head coach that has come in when a team has fired their head coach and taken their team to the playoffs. That was Rich Bisaccia with the Raiders a few years ago. Funny enough, when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl. But like out of all of the head coaches that have been fired and the interim comes in, it's basically when you fire your head coach, you're saying the season's over.
Yep.
And if you do that early, you are just throwing in the towel and you're just saying to everyone, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, this is just a change of voice. When in reality, everyone's looking at you going, you know what that change of voice is? You're giving up on the year and you're just telling
Yeah.
us now.
That's what was so bizarre about it too, because they made that change, which usually signifies, oh, the season's done, we're giving up. But then they turned around the next day and they were like, yeah, but we're also trading for Devonte Adams, and it just that organization makes no sense. They make bonehead moves just that, and they have for years. It doesn't shock me. Seeing guys like Sam Darnold being successful elsewhere now makes you realize that, hey, the Jets sometimes make good picks, but then they just don't know how to handle their staffing properly, and they just let things go to hell.
Yeah, and the, we've talked a lot about both of these two teams and their interesting situations this year. The Jets are just an absolute mess right now, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Like this is something that we'll have to talk about in the podcast this week
Oh
because
yeah.
it'll be a good discussion. So make sure to tune in next week for when that podcast actually gets released, because it'll be probably a pretty fun discussion. But this game ultimately, we've talked about the Texans not necessarily having that greatest of years, even though they're 6-2 at this point in the year. It's such a weird thing, and I'm looking at the spread in this game. The New York Jets are minus 2 point favorites.
Yeah, it's just it sometimes these odds are just bizarre, like that honestly to me is an easy bet to take at that point for the Texans because I just feel there's more versatility on this Texans team and more ability for them to find a way to win because the Jets have been bad. It's not like they're the Texans are going to have to go and find a way to put up 40 points. They could probably win this game on 4 field goals,
You could win this game 14 points with two Joe Mixon rushing touchdowns.
right?
And you could like I look at these two teams right
And
now and go, the Jets offense is it's bad. It is horrifically bad. Texans offense, it's injured, but you have Joe Mixon.
yep.
And then you look at
But
Houston's defense and that's a phenomenal defense. You
yeah,
look at the
well, and
Jets
as we
defense,
said,
they're just falling apart.
the Texans have Tank Dell still, which he was productive for them at times last year. They still have Dalton Schultz as well, who was a very good
Yes.
tight end last season. He's just sort of, I think, been overshadowed this year because of, it's Stephon Diggs is here and he's a diva. We have to get him the ball.
Yep.
Now he's gone. I think what we might see is a little bit more of that Bill's style where we start seeing the ball get spread around more. There's going to be more guys involved in this offense. CJ Stroud is a calm, collected quarterback in the pocket, and so he takes his time to go through the motions, go through his reads. I'm not really worried about him. He'll find somebody and he'll make them look good. It's what Aaron Rodgers used to be able to do, but he can't get it done anymore. He's too old, he's too slow. Um yeah, I think the Texans' versatility just far out matches what the Jets can do. And I mean, for that reason, I'm easily taking the Texans to win this game and obviously cover that spread. I might have to hop in there pretty quick after this recording and just throw a bet down before they change that spread.
Yeah. I have to agree with you in this one. I think the Texans defense is definitely going to be tested with Aaron Rodgers and the weapons that they do have because, Brees Hall, uh, Garrett Wilson, Devonte Adams, these are all legitimate threats. But one of the biggest things that we've seen from this Jets offense this year is that they have no offensive line. Their O line is it's pretty bad. It's rough to watch. And for that reason, I've seen what this Texans defense can do, man. They like to feast on bad offensive lines. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a pretty rough day. I think we could potentially see Aaron Rodgers get hurt in this game for the amount of hits that he's going to take. And I just don't think this game is going to be close. I think the Texans are going to win this pretty comfortably. And yeah, with that being said, the Texans are going to cover that plus 2 point spread that's put against them. Which again, I just have to look at the odds makers and go, you're looking at a 6-2 team versus a 2-6 team that has just been falling apart. And the
Mhm.
team, yes, that 2-6 team is at home, but
But they just
what?
lost to the Patriots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that is going to do it here today, guys. I'm Brendan. That's Sterling. Thank you all very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, comment on the video as it helps us out a ton. But till next time, peace.